This is probably the hardest list I've ever had to make. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Netflix has a lot of misses, but they also have some great hits, and today that's what we are focusing on. I'm sharing with you my top 10 favorite Netflix original movies had to have debuted on the platform of Netflix. Couple for disclaimers and forewarnings before we go into this. Number 1, your favorite movies of Netflix might not be on this list. Number 2, I have not seen every Netflix original movie. Number 3, there's a lot of these movies I want to include on this list, but I just had to break it down to 10, and we did. It was tough, but let's get into this ranking. Before we do, hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content, and let me know your favorite Netflix original movie down below. So at number 10, while I don't think it's necessarily one of the greatest movies ever made, this is one of the few Netflix movies I actually got to see in theaters. It's actually Netflix's most watched movie of all time. It's Red Notice. Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. This movie came out in November time on Netflix, and I saw it a couple weeks early when it debuted in theaters. I took my mom to see it, and we had just a great time watching it. So being able to see a Netflix movie on the big screen is a little bit weird, right? Because Netflix movies are really, like, you can tell they're budgeted and made for a streaming platform. So when you see these big budgeted movies for streaming platforms put on the big screen, some things definitely fall in the cracks. But nonetheless, I had a lot of fun with Red Notice because I love The Rock, I love Ryan Reynolds, and I do enjoy Gal Gadot as well. They have lots of good twists and turns in there. The chemistry is off the charts between these three cast members. It's just a lot of fun, and I have a fond memory of checking this movie out with my mom, and we had a great time watching it, so that's why it's here at number 10, and it's Netflix's most viewed movie of all time. When are we getting Red Notice 2? Because we all know it's coming. At number 9 is Bird Box. Do you guys remember when this movie came out and how crazy, like, the trends and everything was about this movie? If you're unfamiliar with this one, this is more of a horror-centric movie starring Sandra Bullock, where you have to wear a blindfold, because if you see these monsters, you will get, like, killed. It's think of A Quiet Place, but instead of being quiet, you just can't see. I don't know which one is worse, but Bird Box hit all the right notes for me. There was a couple of things in there that I thought, like, weren't done all that well. Like, they really didn't foreshadow certain things well, because, like, you're waiting for certain characters to be there at the end, and, like, obviously since they're not there when they're telling a story, they're giving away lots of how the end's going to come out. But that's a nitpick in the grand scheme of things, because I was on the edge of my seat throughout this movie. It pulls on your heartstrings. You get attached to these characters so much. And when I watch this movie, I just can't help but think, how would I be in this situation? You're hanging on a string. You're hanging on a rope. You're listening to everything. I talk a lot. My thoughts are very loud. I am done. Done for. And I would be done for in A Quiet Place as well. But for Bird Box especially, I mean, I would just get eaten by these monsters or whatever you're seeing that it is they are seeing. But nonetheless, a scary movie, an intense movie, really good performances in there, and overall, just a solid watch on Netflix. If you haven't seen this one, definitely check it out. At number 8, I think this is one of the most underrated movies on the entire platform. It's The King. This is starring Timothée Chalamet, and Timothée Chalamet just gives it his all in this movie. It's about the King of England who dies, and his son, Timothée Chalamet, becomes the new king, and he's this kid who everyone is basically messing with because he's just not too experienced being a king. He was out there partying, hanging out and drinking, hanging in brothels and everything like that, so now he's like the most powerful king in the world, the King of England, but he leads his men to victory in this battle, and the battle is so epic. Timothée Chalamet gives it his all in this movie, gives such a fantastic performance. I thought he got snubbed because the boy is absolutely great, and has really good twists at the end in there, like how they all are basically tricking him and everything. When you find out that big twist, that big reveal at the end, my jaw was dropped to the floor. It ends on a great note. It has great action in there. It is a little bit longer, but nonetheless, if you haven't seen The King, highly recommend checking it out. And if you haven't seen The King, I would just recommend watching Timothée Chalamet's speech from The King. That'll get you hyped up to watch this movie. Then we have the Russo brothers, The Gray Man. This is starring Chris Evans, who has a stash, and it's also starring Ryan Gosling. It's just another Thursday. A lot of people weren't big fans of this one. It was a generic action movie, and while it might be kind of a generic plot, I thought the action in this movie was absolutely great, and I'm a fan of the Russo brothers outside the MCU. Again, like a lot of people really aren't. Ryan Gosling, he's just one of my favorite actors ever, and seeing a jacked Chris Evans and jacked Ryan Gosling, two of the best, go at each other. Ryan Gosling is like protecting this girl, and he's trying to like protect like his friend, and he's trying to avenge his friend, and him and Chris Evans going back and forth. It's epic, it's awesome, it's grand, it's got a good score in there, and just an overall action-packed, awesome movie. And Ryan Gosling plays a character of 6, I believe. He's jacked, built like a brick shit house, and nonetheless, this movie's epic, it's awesome, and it's just another Thursday. At number 6, Tick, Tick, Boom. This is starring Andrew Garfield, Lin-Manuel Miranda's directorial debut. This movie's inspiring, it's emotional, and overall able to make you feel good by the end of it. Andrew Garfield dang near should have won the Oscar for it, how good his performance was in this. And it's a movie that I had to go back and rewatch to really appreciate it. Because the first time, I didn't really love it all that much, but I went to go back and rewatch it, and I fell in love head over heels with this movie because of its message, its meaning. And if you are a dreamer, if you have a dream, you want to go out and do something, this is a movie to watch because it's about a guy, Andrew Larson, who never gave up on that dream. And he always was putting that dream in the front, and he would try to perfect it. And it just is, it's inspiring. It's so inspiring with great songs, and Andrew Garfield sings and he performs and he acts and behaves just like Andrew Larson. And Lin-Manuel, what a great movie for him to direct for his directorial debut, because it was just in like the Broadway space about one of his great friends, Andrew Larson, and Andrew Garfield. He deserved better at the Oscars. At number 5 is Don't Look Up. This movie came out in 2022, stirred up quite a bit of controversy online. A lot of people either loved it or hated it. I was one of the people who loved it. This movie's freaking hilarious. Jonah Hill, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence. The cast is outstanding. Adam McKay's directing. It definitely is hinting at a lot of things that happen in everyday in life, and it's just funny how they hit on those things. Timothée Chalamet is also in there. It's just one of those movies that was like kind of making fun of the world, and that's why I was having fun with it, and I was laughing with it, and I had a great time. It came out right around Christmas time. I remember watching it and laughing my butt off throughout it. At number 4, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. I love the first Knives Out. While this one I don't think is as good as the first Knives Out, Glass Onion nonetheless is another good mystery with a fantastic cast, and Benoit Blanc back discovering why there's a donut's hole inside the donut's hole. This movie's mystery isn't as good as the first one, but it has really good like detective vibes in there that you really want with a murder mystery type movie. And with this one, again, the mystery is kind of like confusing, so it's a little bit all over the place, a little bit different, and the ending was a little bit bizarre, but going on this adventure with Benoit Blanc is what makes this movie exactly what it is. Rian Johnson has really crafted the murder mystery genre to a T, and I can't wait to see Benoit Blanc back again. Which cast do you prefer? The first Knives Out or Glass Onion? Let me know. At number 3, The Harder They Fall. Think of like a Fast and Furious type Western. That's the vibes I get for this movie. It's fast-paced, it's got a fantastic killer soundtrack in there, and it's a Western told differently. You have such a fantastic cast from Lakeith Stanfield, Idris Elba, Jonathan Majors. The casting here is so good. It's got such a good story about revenge and everyone getting together and basically kicking ass and taking names. This is one of my favorite Westerns of all time. This is one of the few Netflix movies I've watched more than 5 times. I have a great time with it every single time I watch it, and that big twist they have at the end, it got me, and it hit me right in the feels. At number 2, I'm cheating just a little bit with this one, but I'm including the entire trilogy because of how well they all go in together, and you can't watch one without the others. It's the Fear Street trilogy. These came out just a couple years back, and they came out 1 week apart from each other. So within 3 weeks, we got an entire trilogy, and I was so glad Netflix did that, because the first Fear Street was awesome and epic. Think Stranger Things met Scream. The second Fear Street, think of like Stranger Things met Sleepaway Camp. The third Fear Street was a little bit weird toward the beginning because it took place in 1666, but then it went back and was like a sequel to the first one. The way they crafted all 3 of these movies and released them 1 week apart from each other was a time to be alive. This is one of my favorite horror franchises of all time, some of my favorite horror movies of all time, and it's rumored we're going to be getting more Fear Street movies, and I cannot freaking wait for them. I love all 3 of these movies. If I had to pick a favorite, it would be Fear Street Part 2, 1978, but they're all good. I love these ones. I cannot wait to rewatch them come Halloween time, because man, I'm itching to check them out again. But at number 1 is none other than Adam Sandler's Hustle. This movie is inspiring. It's about my favorite sport of all time in basketball, and nonetheless, it's one of those movies I can rewatch over and over and over again, because Adam Sandler is these more dramatic roles, something I like, but he has lots of funny lines in there as well. It's like a dramedy of sorts, and it's about a down on his luck scout who goes and he puts basically his money where his mouth is, and he goes and gets this guy from Europe, and he brings him to the NBA because he has a full belief in him. He trains him, he gets him ready, and it's inspiring. It's like a Rocky tale. It's a little bit cliche with the story. This is the most I've ever watched a Netflix movie. I can't get enough of it. It's one of my favorite sport movies of all time. Heck, it might even be in my top 20 favorite movies of all time list. It is easily my favorite Netflix movie. And that's gonna do it for my top 10 original Netflix movie ranking. Let me know your ranking down below in the comment section. I know I missed a lot of movies like The Irishman, The Adam Project, you name them, I missed a lot of them. They were almost on this list, but these are my 10 movies that I enjoyed the most from Netflix. Let me know your ranking down below. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. Thank you guys so much for watching and for being here. I'll see you guys in the next one.